Hey guys, yeah, believe it or not, we're going to talk some Masters of the Universe Revelation here because it has been announced today, and a lot of people have been picking up on this, that the second part of this limited series, and they pretty much confirmed that here, limited series, the second part of it, the second half basically, will be debuting next month. As a matter of fact, it will be debuting, according to this, on November, I think it says it here, November 23rd, I believe. Yeah, I think they said it's November 23rd that it will debut. Yeah, it's going to debut on November 23rd, when basically Netflix drops all the remaining episodes. And what's interesting about about the second half is a lot of people, of course, after the first half of Masters Universe, Revelation, including myself, we weren't, too thrilled with what we got. I mean, a lot of us felt that, hey, if this was going to be what, people promised it was going to be, Kevin Smith, Tom Baselli, I think it was his name, Robert David, or whatever his name is, over at Mattel, Netflix, Powerhouse, that a lot of us basically felt that if this was going to be what they said it was going to be originally, which was a follow-up sequel to the original 80s Filmation series, then there wouldn't be a problem. That, hey, you got, because basically the way we looked at it is, hey, you got the best, one of the best, if not the best, animation studios out there in Powerhouse Animation doing the animation. You got a decently, sized celebrity cast, voice cast for the characters. And, basically you are promoting the fact, which is always a win, that this follow-up, this continuation, is going to be aimed at the original fans, at the original OG fans of the 80s series, and it's going to have more of an adult theme to it because there's going to be more violence to it. There's going to be more consequences. There are going to be things in the series that you couldn't see in the original Filmation series. And we were all cool with that. I mean, even to a point that even though some of us didn't like the idea when we heard it, we were okay with the fact that Teela was going to be one of the main focuses of the series to help bring magic back to not Equestria, but to Eternia. Basically help bring the magic back to Eternia, because apparently without the magic, Eternia being like the heart of the universe pretty much means the universe dies if, Eternia doesn't have its magic. Well, today, like I said, the Netflix and Powerhouse and all them involved with the series came out and announced, like I said, the release date for the second half of this limited series. And, not only announced its release, but announced basically what it was going to be about. And this is what we got here. Let me turn on the light here because it is getting a little dark now. Not too much, but it's getting there. But this is what they announced. Basically, this was reported off, I think, what was it, Deadline, I believe, that Deadline reported this by Rob Bricken of Deadline at 1:10 p.m. today, that's Pacific time. This is what Rob Bricken reported, and it's the same article or the same report that CBR, Comic Book Resources, Collider, and a few others have been talking about as well. But this is the title of the article, and I quote: "Netflix Masters of the Universe Revelation reveals who will kick Skeletor's butt. Kevin Smith's sequel to the classic 80s cartoon will return in November," that being November 23rd. And again, this is an article reported by Rob Bricken, I think, over at Deadline. And this is what the article says, and I quote: "With green flames surrounding his skull, Masters of the Universe Revelation's giant Skelegod holds aloft the Sword of Power. It would have been very funny if the Sword of Power stayed the same size. Although Kevin Smith's sequel to the beloved 80s cartoon He-Man and the Masters of the Universe has been decisive among fans," which is an understatement, I'm confident that they'll be tuning in to watch the rest of the series thanks to its jaw-dropping cliffhanger. This is Rob Brickman, of course. But yeah, he is right about the fact that the first half basically caused some, I guess you could say, division, if you will, diversity among the fans. Because some fans did like it, some old school fans did like it, and a lot didn't. So it was kind of like back and forth, tit for tat. Continuing on, and I quote, "These He-Man fans won't have long to wait to find out what happens next, as Revelation returns to Netflix on November 23rd, which is the week of Thanksgiving. Although we already know the surprising hero who will be facing off against Skeletor when the show concludes. If you watch Masters of the Universe Revelation, which has managed to be an impressive love letter," that's depending on who you ask, "to the original cartoon, while still being willing to make some thoroughly unbelievable story choices," which is an understatement, "you'll remember that the first half of its 10-episode series ended with the newly resurrected Skeletor murdering the newly resurrected Prince Adam and grabbing He-Man's sword of power for himself. It transformed the villain into a being Mattel's action figure has dubbed Scaligod. So that's the level of threat the planet of Eternia faces. Motu, or Master of the Universe toy maker Mattel, has also specifically announced which hero will be battling Scaligod, and revealed his action figure. It's actually a big spoiler. I don't know why it was announced. So, and basically in the original article, they show off who it's going to be, and it's Savage He-Man. And for a lot of us that may know a little bit more about the Masters of the Universe lore, depending on the incarnation, basically Savage He-Man is more like an unapologetic, very non-intelligent, very, well, I think Clownfish TV said it best. Savage He-Man is basically, Hulk, smash, ask questions later. That kind of individual. And that's what Savage He-Man is. But basically the way it's set up is, everybody's always been curious, what would happen if Adam called upon the power of Grayskull without the Sword of Power? And I think we're going to get our answer in the series, as well as with the article that spoils it. Continuing on, and I quote, "For years," and I think this is quoted from Kevin Smith, from Kevin Smith or somebody. It says, "For years, it was assumed that Prince Adam could only call upon the power of Grayskull using the Sword of Power, but Adam himself always wondered what would happen if he called upon the power without the sword. We now know the answer, Savage He-Man." Continuing on. "With the full power of Grayskull unleashed inside of him, Adam gained a combination of primal rage and all the power in the universe, the raw fury, the brutal strength, and the unbridled speed of 10 He-Men. But without the Sword of Power to temper these mighty forces, Savage He-Man is all strength with no intellect to control it. The barbarian version of our hero leaves his friends wondering if Adam is truly present within the transformed beast, as he tears through Eternia in an uncontrolled frenzy. Luckily, Adam at his core possesses innate compassion, humility, goodness that rivals the power of Grayskull itself. Only the Prince of Eternia could wield such power and be both willing and able to relinquish it once the battle is won. Savage He-Man also makes an appearance in this new and very rad promo poster for Revelation Part 2, and that'll probably be the thumbnail I use for this video. Continuing on. I have no idea how Prince Adam will be... let me continue. I have no idea how Prince Adam will get resurrected a second time, but I am immensely looking forward to seeing him just chock full of he-ness. The idea that his iconic sword wasn't just a conduit for the power of Grayskull, but a sort of safety valve, is exactly the sort of wonderfully crazy idea Smith and his crew have repeatedly brought to Revelation, which has made it so entertaining. Again, that's depending on who you ask. Savage He-Man was never in the original cartoon, but he is a literal legendary action figure. He was thought to have been sold in the 80s as a Wonder Bread promotion. It was actually a trading card tie-in. The figure differed from the regular He-Man figure by having brown hair and a black belt and boots, but fans still don't agree what accessories he came with, if any. Obviously, Mattel's Masterverse figure has nothing in common with the original other than the name, but he does include a very, very sad Orko figure, which more than compensates for the changes. And what Clownfish TV looked at when they were talking about this is it looked like this was a zombie Orko. In other words, this was an undead Orko who basically wants to stay dead because he did what he had to do to save his friends. But we'll see. In conclusion, the Savage He-Man figure won't be available till next year, which means you'll have plenty of time to ponder the purchase after you watch him kick Skeletor's Happy Meal ass up and down Main Street, metaphorically speaking, in Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2. Okay. So, yeah. Apparently, there's a lot to digest from that. There's a lot to digest. But apparently, Kevin Smith was right about one thing, as much as a lot of us may hate to admit it. And that is that, indeed, He-Man is the one going up against Skeletor, or Skelegod. But here's the thing. Even though he was right about it, in a sense, he didn't give us the full detail. Yes, it is He-Man, but it's not the He-Man we know. It is Savage He-Man. It is, no intellect, Hulk smash first He-Man. And whether or not this is a good thing to basically make up for the mess that they caused with the first half of Revelation is totally up to anybody's, personal opinion. Me, I'm still not sure about it. I mean, the way I look at it is Thanksgiving week is a good week to, release it because you're going to have a lot more eyes on the product. A lot of people are going to be off work, out of school, so you're going to have a lot more people, available to view this when it debuts, as well as binge the first half to get ready for the second half. However, again, like I said, it's still going to be up in the air. I mean, this might, as a lot of people have been saying after criticizing back and forth the first half, this might salvage, the entire series as a whole. But the only way it's going to salvage it is how Savage He-Man is presented. Are we going to see maybe an internal battle inside him? Like, we're going to have some kind of zoom in with the eyes, and we got to look inside the mental, spiritual presence of Savage He-Man, and we see him fighting off against Adam, so Adam can try to gain control. Is that what we're leading towards? Is there going to be an internal battle within where Adam beats Savage He-Man, Adam takes over as He-Man, but with the power of the Savage? Who knows? It's going to be interesting to see what they do. But what really kind of does throw a wrench in people's possibilities of trying to, look at this as being sort of like a saving grace or something that will basically, like I say, salvage the first half of Revelation is what is reported right about here. Let me see what it says. It says it here somewhere. I think it's on the second page. It's on the second page here. Okay, yeah, here it is. It's basically the one thing that really, again, puts a lot of people that were critical about the first half at, not at ease, but on edge, and doubtful that this will totally salvage, the first half of the series in, completely, is what Rob Bricken, I think that's his name, Rob Bricken reports right here. He says right here, according to the synopsis of the series, because this is not just Kevin Smith talking, but this is the synopsis Netflix put out for the series. And that is, only the Prince of Eternia could wield such power and be both willing and able to relinquish it once the battle is won. And when you hear that, basically the fact that only, Prince Adam is able to wield the power of the power of Grayskull, the Sword of Power, and able to relinquish it when the battle is won, that really, again, puts a lot of the people that criticized the first half of Revelation, on edge. Because even though what we're reading right now about Savage He-Man showing up and being the one that battles Skelegod and probably, as Rob Bricken calls it, kicks his butt or his ass up and down Main Street or up and down the universe, whatever you want to call it, that despite, that being, or that battle potential, or that battle, on the horizon, happening, if you will, trying to think about what I'm going to say here, basically with that battle on the horizon, of happening, it's that last part of what I just read there, of the synopsis, that, Adam is the only one that's able to wield the Sword of Power and the power of Grayskull, but also able to relinquish it. And basically, again, like I said, that's got a lot of the people that criticize the show, Clownfish TV, Geeks and Gamers, Yellow Flash 2, Midnight's Edge, and several others. That's kind of got them on edge, because even though, it's good, what I was trying to say earlier, or moments ago, even though it's good that, yes, we're going to get He-Man battling Skelegod, in the final climax, in the final battle, as Savage He-Man, to kind of go match up power for power, move for move. The one thing that they worry about is how the series is going to end. And with, that synopsis stating that Adam can not only be the one that wills the power, but relinquish it, a lot of people are speculating that what's going to happen is after they beat Skeletor, and his crew, and basically bring the magic back to Eternia, and bring it back to life, as it once was, what they're worried about is Adam will, become king. And this is something they theorized even after the first half aired, that Adam will become king. And now with this, pretty much kind of like almost backing up the theory, that he'll relinquish the power to Andrea. That's right, to Andrea, while Teela goes off to be the new sorceress. That way, as Clownfish TV sometimes jokes a little bit when it comes to this, that not only will, Teela be the new sorceress, but she'll have her champion, her girlfriend, by her side as her champion, as the new guardian of Grayskull, if you kind of get what I'm saying. But this is all mere speculation. Because here's the thing. As much as a lot of us hate to admit it, we can't base our assumptions or our speculations off something that states, oh, Adam can not only wield the power, but he can also relinquish it. We can't, assume and speculate, something that has yet to happen, although a lot of clues, from what people have been saying and been, going by, have been pointing towards, that possibility happening. Honestly, we can't assume that until we're either proven wrong or we're proven right. I'm just saying. And, here's the thing. A lot of people also, including Clownfish TV, a lot of folks have also speculated that there's a good chance that the climactic battle may cause a reset. Like there's going to be a moment that causes everything to be reset to the way it was years prior. And that basically, basically what I'm trying to say, and again, this is what happens when you do things unscripted and uncut, and on the fly, that basically, long story short, not only will things get reset, but it'll go right to the moment before Adam sacrificed himself, so that maybe it doesn't happen, and instead, things go the way they're supposed to. Who knows? But, again, we can't assume or speculate exactly what's going to happen, because it has yet to happen, because we still got over a month to go before we see the second half officially debut. Now, again, is the Savage He-Man deal, is the Savage He-Man debut in the second half going to, once again, as I mentioned, going to salvage this series? It's hard to say. Some people will hope it will, and maybe we'll finally get a proper ending to the series that was promised to be, what it was originally, but turned out not to be. So we'll just have to be patient and see what Netflix has to deliver, or Netflix is going to deliver to us on Thanksgiving week. Now, I know some people like Grace Rudolph and others will probably see it early, so they'll kind of give us an idea maybe of what we're in store for without spoiling it. But again, we'll see but again, overall, we'll have to see what Netflix and Kevin Smith and all of them, have in store for us when it comes to the second half. Now, is there a good chance, according to a lot of people, that this could still turn out to be Teela's show? Absolutely. Absolutely. But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Teela. I think, honestly, and this is just my personal opinion, I think, honestly, they watched the series. They probably had some selective... Here's what I think. When they first did the series, okay, when they first, decided to show the series off to special people, or to a selective special group of people, is what I'm trying to say. When they decided to do that, they probably brought in some old school OG fans to watch it. And what happened is basically what happened when it officially debuted. You had a decisive or diversive, that's the word I think he was using, diversive reaction. You had some that liked it and some that didn't. And I think the ones that didn't outnumbered just barely the ones that didn't like it. And because of that, I think what happened is they went back and said, okay, we're going to leave the first half as is, but we're going to make some changes in the second half so that we make up for what this is going to be looked at in the eyes of the other fans once it debuts. So maybe that's what happened. We don't know. And maybe that's what's going to happen again. Whatever the case may be, I've got a feeling that those that get early showings of this second half that will give us pretty much an idea of what we're in store for. But like I said, could it still turn out to be the Teela show according to a lot of people? Absolutely. Because who knows? Teela might be the one that not only, restores magic to the sword of power and, brings it back to He-Man, and He-Man's able to piece it together and once again and become himself and destroy Skeletor or something like that. But she might be the one that also resets things. Maybe she'll be like, to make up for the way I've acted and not being there when I needed to be, I'm going to reset things. I'm going to basically, take us all back in time and, basically leave and basically, go back to when, I was about to be the new man-at-arms before everything went down. That's potentially what could happen. Like, she could end up being the new sorceress, but she'll use her powers to reset things to, before the attack happened, so that she can be the man-at-arms when, as she was meant to be, but also so that when she does find out about the truth the right way about He-Man and Adam being the one and the same, that she'll be more accepting of it, and she'll be more willing to learn how to accept it, like how to live with it and all that. So we'll see what they do. We'll see what happens. But yeah, it's gonna be an interesting month of speculation, going into it, because, again, there's gonna be, because obviously there's gonna be a lot of folks that are gonna be hesitant because of the first half, to go and watch the second half, even though the second half can pretty much, or will pretty much, or possibly could pretty much make up for what the first half was. There will still be people that will be reluctant to see it because, they don't trust anything that Kevin Smith or, Tom Bastelli or Richard David or anybody associated with this from a writing standpoint has to say or, tell us or whatever. They're going to be reluctant until they hear it from other fans. Like, if the other fans that are going to give it a chance to see if it makes up for what happened in the first half come out and say, yeah, it did exactly what it should have done in the first half and it totally made up for the screw up there, then yeah, I got a feeling a lot of people will give that second half a chance. But again, we'll have to wait and see, what the early screenings viewings, if you will, from people like Grace Rudolph and others will, kind of give us an idea of what we're in store for on the week of Thanksgiving. But yeah, it's going to be interesting, and we'll see if they can be able to make up for what they did in the first half. And if not, all I'm going to say is this. Mattel, next time you want to bring someone like Kevin Smith on board to try to resurrect an old 80s property that you might have the toy license to, make sure that person studies and researches from top to bottom the history of that franchise before they decide to come out and make a decision or make the announcement of, hey, we're doing this and it's going to be a follow-up to the original. Just saying. But what do you guys think? What are your thoughts on the second half of He-Man, Masters of the Universe Revelation Part 2? What are your thoughts on Savage He-Man showing up? What do you think potentially will happen afterwards? Do you think Adam will relinquish the power and give it to Andrea alongside, Teela being the new sorceress, and that becomes an item or a thing? What are your thoughts? Or do you think we'll get a reset? Do you think He-Man battling Skeletor may cause a reset and we go back to when they first battled before, the sacrifice, and the sacrifice doesn't happen? Or does Teela gain the power of the sorceress and she does the reset? What are your thoughts? Comment down below, live chat during the premiere, like the video, check out my Teespring store, as well as check me out at patreon.com/bwroses, and check me out at Vimeo bwroses and at bwroses discussion on all your favorite podcast locations except for Pandora. And I do apologize if I rambled a little bit, sound like I was a little off. Again, this is what happens when I do my videos unscripted and on the fly, because I think about what I'm going to say right then and there. It's kind of like doing a live stream, especially when the video is premiering, although you've already recorded it, but it's premiering in the premiere bar, or the time bar says live for the premiere, but it's actually a pre-recording. You catch my drift. But let me know what your thoughts are. Comment down below, and I'm out.